The Pokemon Legends ZA trailer dropped pretty recently. Now, most Pokemon fans, including myself, are fairly disappointed with what was in the trailer. And I think it's pretty simple to see why, so I'm going to sum it up into 3 reasons. To quickly list my 3 reasons, there are the starter choices, the setting, and the lack of new content showed. I'm going to go more in depth about those reasons now. To start with the obvious one, it's the starters. Most people are upset about the starter choices. Now, I know on the surface, starter choices may seem pure opinion and subjective based, and while yes, your preference for starters is subjective, what is objective is the popularity of starters and how many people actually like them or have them as their favorites. And the simple matter here is that they chose some of the least popular starters of all time. Chikorita is the least popular Johto starter by far, and the least popular starter in general. And Tepig is also the least popular Unova starter, being less popular than Snivy and Oshawott. Totodile is also not the least popular because of Chikorita, but not the most popular because of Cyndaquil. I think the problem here is that they didn't choose a fan favorite starter. They didn't choose something like Trico or a Rowlet equivalent that has most of the fans on its side. I'm not saying they should have gone with Rowlet again, that would have been worse, but they didn't choose a starter that's actually the most popular from its region. They didn't choose a starter that was the most picked, which is a big clash from Legends Arceus, where all 3 starters were the most picked of their region. I personally remember seeing the Legends Arceus trailer and seeing the 3 starters they were using and thinking it was so awesome because all 3 starters were not just my favorites from their region, but some of my favorites in general. I was so hyped, I was so excited, and while I'm not saying that they had to choose all 3 to be the most popular from their regions, because that's not sustainable, I'm saying they could have at least chosen one good starter. Now, the next problem people have with the starters is the fact that 2 are from the same generation. Why do we need 2 Johto starters? Maybe there's some specific, good, justifiable reason that we'll all realize once the game comes out, but from my perspective, we just have an unproportionate representation of Johto here. Like, we don't need 2 Johto starters. We could have gotten a Sinnoh starter, for example. Everyone was hoping for Piplup because Empoleon is based on Napoleon, who's French, and I know he probably would have gotten a different final evolution anyways, but they could have leaned more into the Napoleon side. They could have given him, like, that fancy French hat that they use and a sword, and, like, the more classic outfit Napoleon's based on. Sorry, I'm getting kind of sidetracked about a theoretical Empoleon here. But that kind of just proves my point that we don't need 2 starters from the same region. Hopefully when the game releases, we'll see their final evolutions, we'll see Megas, something like that, that'll make us go, wow, I am so glad they chose both Chikorita and Totodile, but personally, I just don't see that happening. And less so an issue than 2 Johto starters is the fact that all 3 of the starters are from regions that were represented in Legends Arceus. Legends Arceus had Rowlet, Oshawott, and Cyndaquil, which are from Gen 2, 5, and 7, being Alola, Unova, and Johto. Now the problem here is that we got Tepig, who's Gen 5, Unova, and Totodile and Cyndaquil, who's Gen 2, Johto. We already saw this regional representation in Legends Arceus, and I think most people would want variety. They wanted a Gen 3 and or 4 starter, maybe Gen 8, just some variety in what region and generation the starter they are choosing is from. Now that's enough yapping about the starters. Let me go to people's next problem with the trailer. It's the lack of new content. We didn't see anything too new besides the battle system. The battle system looks great, so I'm not really going to talk about that here because most people like it, and that's not really a big problem. But we didn't see any new regional forms or Mega Evolutions. Mega Evolutions are set to return for the first time in nearly a decade, and in the trailer they don't show us any new ones. I think that's just a little absurd. I know some people are saying that maybe they're not ready or we need to be more patient, but the game was announced a year ago. I think we've been patient enough and deserve at least one new Mega. And not even just Megas, regional forms too. Regional forms were some of the coolest parts of Legends Arceus and just, the recent Pokemon games in general. Well, I guess Gen 7 wasn't too recent now, was it? It's been a thing for a while, but you get my point. I would have loved to see at least 1 or 2 new regional forms. We waited a whole year since its announcement trailer. I personally think we deserved it. It's like I said, some people are saying we need to be patient, but in my opinion, we've been patient enough. We've waited long enough. We deserve at least one. You know, even if they weren't going to show it, they could at least tell us which Pokemon is getting a new regional or mega form. They could be like, hey, here's Flygon, he's mega evolving, and then maybe like cut it off, so that way we know Flygon's getting a new mega, but we just don't know what it looks like or its typing, moves, things like that. And they could have done the same thing with regional forms. Even if they didn't want to actually show it, they could have told us what Pokemon is getting it, so we could have gotten hyped for that, and we could have gotten hyped for guessing what it would be. We could, let's say Bunnelby is getting a new regional form. In my opinion, it should. It's a Kalos native, and overall it's an underwhelming 2-stage Pokemon. It's perfect to get a regional form with a 3rd evolution. They could have not shown what its 3rd evolution would be, but maybe just announced Bunnelby's getting a regional form, and then all the Pokemon fans would get excited, theorizing and guessing and predicting what it's going to be about. I just think that would have built up a lot more hype for the game, a lot more excitement, and overall, everybody's just disappointed we didn't get to see any new forms. Now, the 3rd and final issue Pokemon fans have with it is the setting. Most people, including myself, think that the setting of just being in Lumio City is a little bland. It's also in modern day. Now, maybe this is our fault because Legends Arceus was in the past, so we were expecting some unique time frame, either being way in the past or way in the future, but it's just in modern day, so time-wise, it's really boring. And I think they should have communicated that on its release trailer, or its announcement trailer. I'm glad they're showing it now, but they should have showed it a year ago instead of getting everyone hyped about a past or future type game, because they really set that precedent with Legends Arceus. Again, maybe this is the fanbase's fault for inherently assuming it'd be in the past or future, but I'd personally say that it's more the Pokemon Company's fault for setting that precedent with Legends Arceus and not really saying anything about it in its announcement trailer. But people have more of a problem with the setting than just its time frame. It's also the fact that it's only in Lumio City. Most people were hoping to see all of Kalos again. You know, Kalos is a very exciting region, and there's a lot of parts of it which are really cool. But the fact that this whole game's going to be limited to just Lumio City is a little bit boring, in my opinion. Now, I'm hoping that when the game releases, they prove me wrong. I know I've said that at every point so far, but, you know, it's obviously because I want the game to release and for it to be spectacular, and for us to go, wow, these starters were actually great choices, and the setting's fantastic. But, as of right now, the setting sounds kind of boring, and the Wild Zones also look really boring. I did not enjoy the Wild Zone system from Sword and Shield. I thought Scarlet and Violet did it much better, and Legends Arceus has done it the best. So I was hoping for something very similar to Legends Arceus. Now, I saw that some people were saying that in an open world environment that the Pokemon has in Scarlet and Violet and Legends Arceus is that there's too many areas of the map which just don't have any excitement to them, which are kind of bland, and that with a city that's very tiny and dense, they'll be able to pack something that's exciting, unique in like every little bit of it. If that makes sense, it's going to be very dense, so there's going to be everything, something new around every corner, which, to be fair, I'm hoping is true, and I'm hoping that I get proved wrong here, and that most Pokemon fans get proved wrong will be saying, wow, I hope for another small setting in a Pokemon game in the future. But as of right now, just in a city sounds really boring, like a city in modern day. That sounds pretty boring and uninspired, especially for the locations we've seen in Pokemon. Like, we've seen a town full of tree houses, where everyone lived in a tree house. That's so cool, unique, and exciting. And we've seen other countless locations like that that are unique and exciting. So this whole game being constrained to just one city that's in the modern day too sounds a little boring. And the Wild Zone system doesn't look that cool. The fact that Pokemon aren't going to be everywhere for you to catch, but you have to go to specific areas, all of which look like they're going to be repeats of each other, not just a city block, seems pretty boring to me. But, you know, just to finalize my points and my summary, the starter choices seem pretty bad because they're unpopular, and, you know, we've already seen these regions be represented, including 2 Johto ones. There was nothing new shown in the trailer, no new forms, no new megas. anything like that. And the setting's boring. It's just in modern day. It's just the same city over and over again. And the wild zones don't look all that good. I am praying personally that the game comes out and we are all proved wrong. The Pokemon fan base will be saying, wow, I can't believe we ever said that just Lumio City would be a bad setting. I can't believe we said that Chikorita and Totodile would both be bad starter choices. Because hopefully they come out with new final evolutions, with new megas, and they prove that the setting will be way better than we're thinking. Something like that. But anyways, that's all I've got for today. I said my points, and I'm assuming you agree with me too. Most Pokemon fans seem to agree with all the points I'm making. I made it less my opinion and more based on what the fan base is thinking in general. But yeah, to sum it up, I hope that we're all wrong and this game's going to be great. But that's all I got for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.